For 25 long years, Monkey D. Luffy has been fighting towards one singular goal, which is to find the One Piece and become the Pirate King. Of course, he isn't the first person to do this. Gol D. Roger was the Pirate King before him, and before Roger, the seas were ruled by the might of Rox D. Xebec and his extremely powerful crew. If you look most recently, it could be argued that Whitebeard was the Pirate King following Roger, despite Whitebeard choosing never to go to Laugh Tale. Now, if you really go back far enough, then we have the Ancient Kingdom and the mysterious Joyboy, who you could argue was the first ruler of the seas. Now, given all of these massive names, it begs the question, just how many Pirate Kings have there actually been throughout the One Piece timeline? How many people throughout history could actually claim to have been the undisputed rulers of the sea, and how on earth were they able to achieve this title? In this video, I'm going to go through everyone who I think fits the criteria of a Pirate King. I'll also be talking about what each of these kings represent. Before starting, I think we need to clarify just what kind of kings we're talking about. Doflamingo was the king of Dressrosa and a fallen celestial dragon with an extreme amount of influence throughout the seas. Would this make him fit the criteria of a king in this context? I personally don't think so. A pirate king within One Piece is simply a level above the standard kings of the small countries which are scattered throughout the One Piece world. If we were to put a ranking to it, then it would be safe to assume that the lowest level of king would be the Outlook family of Goa and King Bekori of the Sorbet Kingdom, who we have in fact seen most recently during the Egghead Island arc. Above them, you would have the actual competent kings like King Cobra of Alabasta or King Riku Doldo III of Dressrosa. Even further above him would be the powerful kings, which is where the likes of Doflamingo and Crocodile would fit in. And then you move up to the Yonko, who of course are the rulers of the seas. They earn this title even if they don't necessarily have any official territory of their own, which of course is the case for Shanks, who is one of the most iconic members of the Yonko. For all of the others though, we have Blackbeard ruling Hachinozu, Big Mom ruling Totoland, and Kaido who was ruling Wano. And then above the Yonko, we have the ultimate rank of Pirate King. In order to earn this title, you have to be unchallengeable. Nobody should be able to question you. And lastly, you should wield enough raw power not to be restrained by anyone or anything. When you view it like this, there's only been 4 or possibly 5 characters in all of One Piece who could be classified as a Pirate King. So I'm going to start by covering the most recent ruler of the seas, the world's strongest man, Whitebeard. If reaching Laugh Tale was the criteria for which Gol D. Roger had become the Pirate King, then Whitebeard could have become the king decades ago. This is because Roger himself had revealed to Whitebeard the location of Laugh Tale. If Whitebeard ever wished to claim the One Piece, there was actually no one in the world who would have been able to stop him. He simply had decided not to go after it, as he had his own dreams that he wanted to pursue instead. Despite him not taking the throne of Pirate King, it didn't stop his greatness from being far-reaching. He was the king of the Great Pirate Era, the strongest man in the world, someone whose name had struck fear into the hearts of pirates even all the way into the Four Blues. Despite him being in his 70s with several health issues, he was still capable of facing off against admirals and even destroying Marineford. Whitebeard was someone who for 50 years had stood among the most powerful people sailing the seas, and even on his deathbed he had struck fear into Blackbeard. Now, despite all of this, I don't believe that his strength was his greatest asset. What I believe made the Whitebeard pirates such a threat was the influence of Whitebeard. As we had all seen in Marineford, Whitebeard's main force was the command of an army that could match the world government, and he could seemingly summon this large force at any time from anywhere. 1,600 crew members spread across 16 divisions led by 16 extremely powerful pirates, plus a countless number of allied crews made up of well-known figures from throughout the Grand Line, including the likes of Jinbei. This is a force that no other pirate could match. It was said near the start of the series that the One Piece world was split into 3 main powers: the world government, which you would view as the Marines, the warlords of the sea, and then the Yonko. Of course, when you look further into it, this breakdown does fall apart, because the warlords technically worked for the world government, so 2 of those 3 powers mentioned are in fact allied with one another. While the Yonko were not a collective, they were 4 separate, often conflicting crews that each commanded enormous strength. Whitebeard wasn't just a single Yonko, he was arguably the strongest of them all. His crew took on all 3 Marine Admirals, plus all the Vice Admirals, the Marine Fleet Commander, 5 Warlords, a squadron of giants, and thousands of Marines, all on a battlefield that was tailored to work against them at every opportunity. We all know the outcome of this massive battle. The Whitebeard pirates lost as they failed to save Ace, and Whitebeard had even died during the conflict. But when you consider the scale of the force that they were up against, with absolutely everything acting against them, then there likely isn't any other crew in the world, and possibly in history, who would have been able to put up such a fight against the Marines like the Whitebeard pirates had done. Even if we compare Whitebeard with Gol D, a man who was infamous for just how strong he was, and somebody who had attained the title of the Pirate King, Whitebeard was actually considered equal to him in strength, and we saw that in the Wano arc flashbacks, the two of them had in fact fought against each other on equal footing. But in my opinion, Roger's crew likely wouldn't have been able to do at Marineford what the Whitebeard pirates did. The fact is that they simply didn't have the manpower. Even if you assume Roger was stronger than Whitebeard, and he could have taken on 2 admirals at the same time, while Rayleigh had taken on the 3rd, who amongst them would have been able to go up against Garp or Sengoku or even the Warlords? During the Ed War flashback, we see the Roger pirates face off against Golden Lion Shiki and his massive fleet. While Roger wasn't afraid of them and was willing to charge into battle regardless, Oda wrote it so that a storm ends up being the thing which destroyed most of Shiki's allies and had allowed Roger to win. In a situation where the Roger pirates would be up against far greater numbers even than this, against opponents even stronger than Shiki, on a battleground that works against them instead of for them, then I think that the Roger pirates would stand no chance. Whitebeard's crew at the very least had a chance against 2 of the 3 major powers in the world. One single crew managed to stand up and fight against them equally, while no other crew in the One Piece world would have been able to do the same. Now this is the power of the influence that Whitebeard had. This influence stemmed from a king of his age. Of course, when somebody so influential who has been built up to such a high level ends up eventually falling, the repercussions are earth-shattering. During Marineford, the Moby Dick was destroyed, Ace was killed, Blackbeard, the traitor who began everything, had come out on top, all of the islands that were previously under Whitebeard's control were left in turmoil, a power vacuum which led to Big Mom taking over Fishman Island, Marco was reduced to protecting Sphinx from opportunistic attackers, and Whitebeard's former allies were being hunted down by his self-proclaimed son. Whitebeard was the sole individual who had held an empire together, so when he had fallen, so did his empire, plunging the world into a brand new era, similar to what had happened 25 years ago when Gol D was executed. Now, speaking of the previous Pirate King, we now move on to Gol D. If Whitebeard was the uncrowned king of the Great Pirate era, then Roger was the crowned king of the era that came before it. He was by all definitions the Pirate King. None have come after, and as far as we know, none have ever achieved the title since. Whereas Whitebeard represented influence, Gol D. epitomized the concept of achievement. Many of the great stories throughout history have an ultimate achievement which everyone aims for, and as far as One Piece is concerned, Roger was the only one who was ever successful in achieving this grand goal. Much like King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone, Roger conquering the Grand Line and reaching Laugh Tale was an incomparable feat. Roger's achievement gave him that right to be the Pirate King above anyone else, even above Whitebeard, who by all accounts was completely equal to Roger. Like I had mentioned, Roger and Whitebeard were equal in strength and reputation. If Whitebeard had wanted to, he could have challenged Roger to be the king of that era. The difference was that Whitebeard didn't have the ambition that was needed to become the Pirate King. He absolutely had the strength to achieve this, but unlike Roger, he lacked the drive to want to go and do it for himself. Roger didn't just want to find the mysteries of the world, he needed to find them. And it's for this reason that he decided to reach the end of the Grand Line and find what was there. He needed to do all of these things, and it was what had led to him gaining the title of Pirate King, as he succeeded in achieving everything that he had set out to achieve. What Roger embodied was an idea, which of course is the idea of freedom. Even after his death, this idea of freedom had lived on, and it had kickstarted the Great Age of Pirates. While Roger passed the torch to the New Age relatively peacefully at his execution, contrastingly, he didn't take the torch for his age peacefully at all. He took it by force alongside Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp in their legendary battle against Rox D. Xebec at God Valley. Xebec Xebec was the undisputed king of the era before Roger, a monster who was so powerful that his name had struck fear into all who had heard it. A man so dangerous, his very existence had to be removed from history. Xebec was a ghost from a bloody and violent past. Now, the one quality that he represented without question was overwhelming strength. While Whitebeard and Roger are monsters in their own right, there is a certain level of separation that you have when you're a captain who had commandeered 3 of the future Yonko, as well as legendary figures like Golden Lion Shiki, Captain John, Ochoku, Silver Axe, as well as the former Empress of Amazon Lily, and many more that are still unnamed. It took the combined might of the strongest marine of the next generation and the strongest pirate of the next generation to ultimately take Rox down. Rox's fate is one that is still deeply shrouded in mystery, with the full events that took place in God Valley still yet to be revealed to us. This means that he still holds the potential to become relevant once again in the future. We've already seen hints of his influence in the modern day with Blackbeard, whose flagship is called the Saber of Xebec. Maybe Rox managed to survive the epic clash from 40 years ago, meaning that there could still be a powerful force out there, waiting in the shadows for their moment to strike once again. So with that, we've actually covered 3 of the most obvious people who are worthy of the title of Pirate King in One Piece. We've covered aspects of influence, achievement, and strength. Now, the next king on this list, however, is probably the most unusual, with an identity that is seemingly split between 2 different people. I'm of course talking about Joyboy, a character from ancient times yet seemingly reborn in the modern day within Luffy. There aren't that many characters in One Piece who we know little about, despite them having been rumored for so long. So for this reason, it makes it difficult to theorize anything about individuals like Joyboy. From what we know, Joyboy was an individual from the time during the Void Century, and he had enough influence to have commissioned his very own poneglyph, on which he mentioned his debt to Fishman Island, and he had apologized for his inability to fulfill it. This alone speaks volumes of Joyboy's importance during his time, not only from seemingly having been granted a favor by an entire nation, but in his ability to have his message written on a poneglyph, which of course are very rare, limited items that are scattered across the world, and they have existed for a large portion of the One Piece history. From everything that we know thus far, we have no idea how Joyboy was able to create his own poneglyph. Did he have a special relationship with the Kuzoki clan? Was his influence related to the ancient kingdom? Was he perhaps even the king of this ancient kingdom? And lastly, how was he able to re-emerge in the form of Luffy following the awakening of his Gomu Gomu no Mi? When you start to think about the type of king that Joyboy was and the type of qualities that he would have possessed, we begin to understand just how exceptional Joyboy truly is. Joyboy has a lot of influence. If he was the king of the ancient kingdom, then he had command over the strongest kingdom known in history. Contrastingly, Luffy commands what is possibly the largest fleet in the entire Grand Line, with multiple extra allies and nations that have joined him. In terms of achievement, the king of the greatest kingdom in history is an impressive achievement in and of itself, though I have no doubt that Joyboy would have an extended list of achievements that are similar to Luffy's. And lastly, in terms of strength, we can't say much about the mysterious Joyboy of ancient times, but we can definitely comment on how Luffy at the age of 19 has attained the title of Yonko, and he is capable of fighting against a Yonko as well as an admiral, and following these encounters he is able to come away as a victor. Both Joyboy and Luffy exemplify every aspect of all of the kings that I've mentioned thus far in this video, and by doing so they hold the potential to far surpass each and every single one of them. I think that they will hold more influence than Whitebeard, they will be stronger than Xebec, and when everything is said and done, I think that Luffy is going to be even more famous than Roger. If Luffy is the modern day Joyboy, then I think the ancient Joyboy had achieved all of this, and everything that the Joyboy in the past had achieved, Luffy will one day also come to achieve. So everyone that I've talked about thus far in this video has had a real tangible impact, and they have acquired a huge reputation throughout the world, and in general they were very open about all of the things that they were doing. The world had known about them, and it's for this reason that their names have been etched into the history of One Piece. But when it comes to the unquestionable, all-powerful kings of the One Piece seas, it would be insane of me not to mention the single person who has been pulling the strings of the world for the best part of a millennium. I'm of course talking about Im-sama. Unlike the others on this list, Im acts from the shadows. His name is only known to a select few, with anyone else discovering his identity being quickly eliminated. Yet despite that, his word alone is sufficient to sentence an entire kingdom to complete and utter destruction. Even with how little we know about Im, I don't think too many people would disagree with me if I said that if Im exemplifies anything, then it's the idea of control. As far as we know, Im is the deciding voice on what is allowed to become history and what is erased from the records of history. There likely will never be someone who is as powerful as Im. He is an individual who is in complete control of nearly everyone and everything. Now we've reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. Do you agree with the list that I've compiled within this video of the true kings of the One Piece world? Or do you think that I've forgotten to mention one potential candidate? I would love to know all of your thoughts on all of the kings that I've mentioned within this video, on the qualities that they represent. So definitely continue the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.